Okay, so this is lesson number 28 of our course. This is the last lesson before Easter 2018. Easter eggs. Easter eggs, yes. Do you eat Easter eggs? No? So you don't eat Easter eggs, Rossella? You don't like chocolate very much? Big ones. And only dark chocolate. Okay, Yolanda, do you like Easter eggs? Dark chocolate, not milk chocolate. You don't like milk chocolate. Pepe? Milk chocolate. Okay. Only milk chocolate. Everything. Okay, so you eat dark chocolate, milk chocolate. Does anybody here like white chocolate? White chocolate too? Your son likes white chocolate, okay?
Yes.
No, you don't, because you don't eat chocolate.
Is the worst.
The worst, it's the sweetest.
The sweetest, but the worst.
It's the less
Black
chocolate
and white
of them all.
chocolate Kinder.
Yes, of course.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
I eat everything chocolate, but no dark.
Not dark chocolate, okay.
Only white chocolate.
No, only milk. Milk chocolate, white chocolate, apart from.
Apart from.
Apart.
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 Okay, apart with apart dark chocolate.
Apart
Milk
from.
chocolate with
Apart from, which means tranne. From. Okay? Sweet.
No, not chocolate.
Nuts. Yes, nuts. Okay,
Excuse me.
nuts. In England, there is a very good chocolate,
Yeah.
which is called Cadbury's, which is the chocolate that I was brought up with. Cadbury. This is the factory, which is near Birmingham, and it's a very, very good chocolate. Well, I was brought up, I grew up with Cadbury's.
My Welsh parents sent me
Yes.
last year.
Cadbury's. This is the best chocolate in England. Because in England we have various types of chocolate, like there's also another chocolate which is called Galaxy.
Yeah.
Galaxy. But Cadbury's is a lot better than Galaxy. Galaxy is less tasteful. Cadbury's is very, very, very good.
My daughter said eat everything.
Both Galaxy and Cadbury's. Cadbury's is very, very, very good. And if you go to England, the factory is near Birmingham, you can visit the factory. And it's like, if anybody has anybody ever been to Dublin? No. You've been to Dublin? Like Pepe? Never? Mariano, never? No? No? You've been to Dublin. And when you went to Dublin, did you go to the beer factory? What's the beer called? The Guinness factory. Okay, the Guinness factory. Because beer is birra. No, I didn't remember.
Now it's the whiskey factory.
Also, you went to the whiskey factory as well. When I went to Dublin, I visited the Guinness factory. And yes, of course at the end they give you a pint of Guinness, and so you walk around the factory and everybody steals the glass and puts it in their bags. All the Italians do anyway. Every Italian that goes to the Guinness factory comes home with a souvenir that is the glass of the the visit, the tour of the Cadbury factory is like the tour of the Guinness factory. So as you walk around, they give you little pieces of chocolate, and then at the end they give you a bar of chocolate.
But where's this factory in the London?
No, it's in Birmingham. It's near where I was born. Because I was born in Worcester. Birmingham is not far from Birmingham. Worcester is not far from Birmingham, and that's where the factory is. And it's, as I said, it's if you have the chance to taste it, eat Cadbury's chocolate, because it's very, very, very good. Okay. It's Cadbury's is milk chocolate, and it's milk chocolate, and you have nuts and raisins and various types of chocolate. And it's very good. It reminds me of when I was a child, okay, because that's the chocolate we used to eat, and the Easter eggs were Cadbury's, and at Christmas we used to eat Cadbury's, and it was always Cadbury's. So it's part of my childhood. Okay, now, after this brief introduction to Cadbury's chocolate factory, because it's 8:45, so at 8:45 people are a bit hungry, so it's nice to talk about chocolate and things to eat. Now, on Monday, we listened to the first part of chapter 5 of L'Homme Éléphant, okay, of the Elephant Man. Now today, because you three weren't here, okay, we are going to listen to it again, but only once, okay, just to give you the possibility to listen to this part of the book. The title of this book is An Important Visitor. Okay, this is chapter 5. Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Before we start, I will ask you the same question I asked the three at the back there. The title is An Important Visitor, okay? And I asked them who they thought this important visitor was. So, who do you think this important visitor could be? Who could it be, do you think?
I remember that Mariano speak about Queen.
The Queen?
The Queen.
Why? You saw the...
Film for
Right. Okay, but you didn't see the lesson? No, okay.
Does not arrive.
Okay, so you haven't seen the email. So it could be the Queen, you think? It's possible. What do you think, Rossella?
I think it is possible the visit of the Queen.
Of the Queen.
Or another person, but the title is An Important Mystery. I think it is the Queen.
The Queen, because an important visitor could imply not only important in the sense of royalty, it could be, for example, an important person for me is my mother, for example. But of course, in general, she's not a VIP, okay, but she is an important person as far as I am concerned. But it could be, I'm not saying it is, okay? Samantha, what do you think?
I think...
What could, of course this is an hypothesis, so who could it be?
I think that an important visitor was his mother.
His mother, okay, it's possible, okay? But I won't ask Yolanda, Pepe and Mariana because they know who the important visitor is, okay? So, we're going to listen to it again, only once, and then I will ask you questions. Okay, so are you ready? Let's go.
Chapter 5. An important visitor. I did not want Merrick to live by himself, like a man in the lighthouse. He read his books and talked to me, but I wanted him to talk to more people. And I wanted him to talk to women. Merrick read about women in his books, but he did not often talk to women. He met the nurses every day, but they did not talk to him very much. For them, he was always a creature, not a man. One day, one of my friends, a beautiful young woman, came to the hospital. I told her about Merrick and took her to his room. She opened the door and smiled at him. "Good morning, Mr. Merrick," she said. Then she shook his hand. Merrick looked at her for a minute with his mouth open. Then he sat down on his bed with his head in his hand and cried. He cried for nearly 5 minutes. The tears ran down his face, between his fingers, and onto the floor. My friend sat on the bed beside him and put her hand on his arm. She said nothing, but she smiled at him and shook his hand again before she left. "Dr. Treves," he said to me that night, "that lady was wonderful. My mother smiled at me once, many years ago, but no women smile at me now. But this lady smiled at me too, and she shook my hand. A beautiful lady smiled at me and shook my hand." My young lady friend came again the next week and talked to Merrick for half an hour. The week after that, she came again with a friend. They gave him some books and had a cup of tea with him. It was wonderful for him. For the first time in his life, he had some friends. He was a very happy man. He sat in his room and read his books and said no more about living on a lighthouse. People began to read about Merrick in the newspapers, so he had a lot of visitors. Everybody wanted to see him. A lot of important ladies and gentlemen visited him. They smiled at him, shook his hand, and gave him books. Merrick liked talking to these people, and he began to forget about his ugly body. His visitors never laughed at him. He began to feel like a man, not a creature. One wonderful day, a very important lady came to the hospital to visit him. I met the lady and took her to his room. Then I opened the door and smiled at him. "Good morning, Joseph," I said. "There is a new visitor to see you today, a very famous lady." Merrick stood up beside his table. He did not smile, because his face could not smile, but his eyes looked happy. "That's good," he said. "Who is it?" I moved away from the door, and the visitor walked in. "Your Majesty, this is Joseph Merrick," I said. "Joseph, this is Her Majesty, Queen Alexandra, the Queen of England." Queen Alexandra smiled at him. "How do you do, Mr. Merrick?" she said. I'm very pleased to meet you. Then she shook his hand. Merrick did not move. For nearly half a minute, he stood and looked at her with his mouth open. Then he spoke in his strange, slow voice. How do you do, Your Majesty? He said. But I don't think the Queen understood him, because he tried to get down on his knees at the same time. It was very difficult for him, because of his enormous legs. No, please, Mr. Merrick. Do get up, said the Queen. I would like to talk to you. Can we sit at your table? Yes. Yes, of course, he said. They sat at the table. She took his left hand, the good hand, in hers. She looked at the hand carefully, and then smiled at Merrick again. I often read about you in the newspapers, she said. You are a very interesting man, Mr. Merrick. You have a very difficult life, but people say you're happy. Is it true? Are you happy now? Oh, yes, Your Majesty. Yes, said Merrick. I'm a very happy man. I have a home here now, and friends, and my books. I'm happy every hour of the day. What a wonderful story, she said. I'm very pleased to hear it. Now, tell me about your reading. I see you have a lot of books here. Oh, yes, Your Majesty. I love my books, said Merrick. And for nearly half an hour, they sat and talked about books. The Queen gave him a little book and some red flowers before she left.
Okay, and this is where we stopped. Okay, so this is where we stopped. So the important person who visited Joseph Merrick was Queen Alexandra. Okay, so the Queen visited him. Now, in the recording, we have some words like shake hands. Okay, shake hands, which is shake, shook, shaken, which means darsi la mano. Okay, so to shake hands is this. When somebody says, hello, how are you? And they shake hands, okay? And then we have another word, which is knee. Okay, knee is ginocchio. Okay, so knee is ginocchio. Another verb which can be important, it's not in the recording, but a verb that is useful is hold hands, which is hold, held, held. Now to hold hands means tenersi per mano, okay? To hold hands. So we have shake hands, shook hands, shaken hands, which means darsi la mano. To hold hands, tenersi per mano. Knee is ginocchio. Okay, then we have another word is to get down, which means mettersi in ginocchio, scendere giù, ok? Inginocchiarsi, to get down. Anche se dobbiamo dire inginocchiarsi, dobbiamo dire to get down on your knees, ok? Sulle ginocchia, on your knees. Okay, so this is These are words to help you with the discussion. Now, today, I am going to divide you into pairs. Okay? Pairs, what is pairs? Okay, in coppia. I'm going to divide you into pairs, and I want you to talk about this chapter. I'm going to have Mariano and Laura, Peppe and Rossella, and Yolanda and Samantha. Okay, so you have listened to the recording once. They've listened to it 3 times. Twice on Monday and once today. Okay, so I want you to speak about this first part of chapter 5, which is entitled An Important Visitor. Okay, when you speak, try to use these words, these verbs. Okay, so Laura, if you can move, and Pepe, move forward, please, and sit next to Rossella. And Samantha, if you can sit at the back there next to Yolanda. Okay, so of course, in English, okay? Because even if we make mistakes, now this part is important for one specific reason. As I have said before, when we speak to another person, the important thing is that they understand what we want to say. If we make mistakes, it's okay. It's not a big problem as long as they understand what we want to say. Then the more we study, the more we improve, and the better we say things. But it is fundamental, it is vital, it is very important to speak in English, okay? Because the more we speak, and the better it is, okay? Now, while you speak, I shall walk around and listen to you, okay? So, please start. I am the film director, so...
And the tears run down his face. Beautiful woman. He was very happy because the woman shook.
Young lady.
A Dr. Street's friend. And he was very happy because she shook his hand, and it was the first time a woman took his hands.
She introduces herself
smiled okay. She smiled to Merrick, and Merrick was very, very happy to see her. Merrick reads a book when they come in the room. And I don't understand another in this part.
during his life. So he was very touched.
I understand that in part of the story, Elephant Man reads a lot of book,
and spent time with Dr. Tree. And one day he reached
Esatto, non
friend
she went,
about the woman in the book,
sì, potrebbe anche essere
and
una roba scivolosa, sì.
then he
During his life, so he was very touched by her parents.
he
So he started
isn't the man, but he is the future. So one
So
day
he was very
in
touched
the hospital comes the woman, beautiful
by
woman,
her kindness.
and
So he started
the priest, woman, because I said that he reads about the woman, and after the woman comes. I think because the doctor would like that elephant man meet some woman.
Point and down dovrebbe essere, come dire, messo in evidenza, cioè nel senso, is my film, point it out. And shook his hands, okay, and smiled to him without love, laughing. And this behavior touched the deep Mary, so he started okay, and was gripped by emotion and remained with mountains for the
He
first
had
time.
an experience like with a woman.
Io qui ho scritto when she forse meglio when she went più appropriato che ci non sono quindi allora io ho scritto il famoso Lodstack, questo è corretto, l'altra volta avevo scritto di Get Stuck, come lo devo allora the other lady came again next week and took some books from me. She talked again with him in the same gently manner, okay? So Merrick started to feel himself happy of this new life and of this new friend.
His condition.
Not in this point of the yes, just a bit next. Yes, this part is when he met Queen Elizabeth and answered to it. Queen Alexander.
Queen Elizabeth is old, but she's not that old.
Okay. Queen Elizabeth is the okay. People knew the story about this new life of Merrick by reading it in newspapers. So we had a lot of new visitors, important ladies and gentlemen, important people, new friends, all people who wanted to see Merrick, okay, wanted to see Merrick and knowing and introducing the dream, okay. So Merrick slowly began to forget his body or ugliness and began one day a very important person came in hospital who was Dr. Trips accompanied this important person and introduced her to Merrick. She was Her Majesty Alexander. Merrick was really surprised and he did not move again from his emotion, by his emotion. And looked at her
before, after,
with not for immediately. Dr. Queen Alexander smiled to him and asked him, how do you look? Then
And the three friends.
get down.
Good.
Cioè si inginocchia, capito? Cioè, esatto, you don't know what to do. Yes. Sì. Sì, no.
Okay, now,
Ci sta.
what I want you to do now, again, is to think of 2 questions to ask your partner. Okay? So, think of 2 questions. The questions can refer to this part of the chapter, or it can refer to the future, it can refer to previous chapters, as long as they are 2 questions, which I would like you to write them down, because before you ask the question, I want to see them. Okay? So, 2 questions. Laura, 2 questions for Mariano, and Mariano, 2 questions for Laura, Peppe, 2 questions for Rossella, etc., etc., and you 2 write 2 questions to ask each other. But before you ask the question, as soon as you finish, call me, because I want to see the questions, okay? Because I want to see if they have been written correctly or not. Okay? Remember the question forms, okay? If we use an ordinary verb, we need this. Okay? If we use to be, must, can, etc., etc., we must change subject with the verb. Okay? So this is for to be, have, can, must, and will. Okay? For all the other verbs, we use this formula, this structure. Okay. No. To become friends. Sì. Aspetta un attimo. Ok, allora, altri vocaboli che possiamo utilizzare per fare domanda in questa parte. Allora, ci sta fall in love, che poi fa fall, fell, fallen, che vuol dire innamorarsi. Quindi he fell in love, lui si è innamorato, ok? Poi abbiamo to make friends. Questo sarebbe farsi degli amici, diventare amici. Quindi o così oppure to become friends. Ok? Che sarebbe diventare amici. Quindi segnatevi anche questi verbi qua, segnateveli sempre in una parte del quaderno o nella rubrica, perché quante più parole conosciamo e tanto meglio riusciamo a capire e a parlare. Ok? So, to fall in love, innamorarsi, to fall, fell, fallen, like he fell in love with a beautiful woman. Ok? To make friends, they made a lot of friends. Si sono fatti un sacco di amici. They became, perché questo è become, questa è una A, è become. Quindi become, become, they became friends, diventarono amici. Ok? split up. Find out what is scoprire. To split up, to leave each other. Si viene in mente che quel to split up sarebbe dividersi, to leave each other, la stessa cosa, sarebbe lasciarsi, to get on well, to get along, to get on well. Si dice che non vanno d'accordo, they don't get on well with each other, or they don't get along. Si può dire in tutti e due i modi, oppure who was o who is the first person. Vanno bene tutti e due. No. Did they laugh at him? No, yet usa col present perfect. Did they laugh at him? That's okay. That's okay. That's correct. Okay, where did people read about Merrick? Okay, did they? Okay, perfect. What did you mean here? How did he do? In che senso? No. Qua viene. How did he feel? Okay. Okay, so who is the person that met the elephant man at the hospital?
When did the creature cry?
Okay, good. When did the creature cry? Okay. Did you write the questions, Yola? where did people read about the elephant man? Okay.
Cioè, succede nel senso di...
How the elephant man and the beautiful woman going to fall in love. Okay. What did Queen Alexandra give to Merrick? Okay. What is the Merrick's humor in that time? Humor in che senso? Umore. Humor in English is senso l'umorismo. What is Merrick's mood in that time? Okay. Mood. Come si dicono? Non ho capito niente. Ah beh, aggettivi di personalità. Sì. Quindi, what is Merrick's mood at that time? Quindi, what is Merrick's mood at that time? Okay? Oh, sorry. How Dr. Trees thought no, perché se andiamo a vedere il QSI non si trova, che tu hai fatto QS passive e poi il resto della frase. Quindi how many times qua la sta cosa, se non applichiamo questo, allora questa è la Q, ok, poi questa è la S, sì, how many times sarebbe la Q? No, questa è tutta la Q, sì, questa è tutta la Q, quindi ci manca la A, e poi ci manca la I, perché tu hai fatto QS, past simple, e poi resta la frase. Quindi se devi esercitarti a applicare questa formula, se la applichi le domande verranno bene, se non la applichi sono sempre sbagliate, quindi vedi un attimo. Questa è la penna tua, scusa. What was the reaction of Merrick after the first visit of... Ok, what was... Ok, te la lascio questo, anche se qua... Questo. Quindi what was... Ok, quindi what was Merrick's reaction after the first visit from the young lady. Quindi, what was Merrick's reaction after the first visit? Anche se anche qua, what was Merrick's reaction after the young lady's first visit? How did Dr. Trees think? Quindi, how did Dr. Trees think to solve things? Okay? Quindi, what was Merrick's reaction after meeting? Vabbè, no, tu non hai messo in questo modo qua, sì, infatti. Quindi, what was Merrick's reaction after the young lady's first visit? Ok, quindi what was Merrick's reaction after the young lady's first visit? Perché qua si possono mettere il doppio genitivo non si usa, però se ci sono due verbi diversi è diversa la situazione, ok? Perché questo è qua e questo è con questa qua, ok? Se è un unico verbo non si può usare il doppio genitivo, però se sono due verbi diversi il discorso cambia. Sì, ok? Quindi what could happen in second part, ok? What could happen? Quindi what could happen? Perché il soggetto è questo. Quindi what could happen in the second part of chapter? Oh no, aspetta. Chapter 5, hai messo il numero, va bene. Quindi what could happen in the second part of chapter 5, ok. How many times did Tree's friend go? Ok. Non è più corretta, è corretta. Ok. Se mi frego le penne, ditemelo perché sono un noto ladro di penne. Okay, good. Now, before we finish, I want you to read your questions. Okay, Laura, will you please read your questions? Just a minute, because I want you to read the question using the mic. So, are you ready? A nice voice, okay?
Mariano, what was Merrick's reactions after the young lady's first visit?
He had two main reactions. The first is he was crippled by emotions and remained with mouth open and cried. The second is the second was a feel of happiness after he knew this young lady.
Okay, good. Now you ask.
Laura, how did Dr. Treves think to solve the problem of married loneliness?
He invited a young woman, his friend, to meet Merrick, and then this visit, other people visited him, and he had a lot of friends.
Okay. Now, very good. One sounds good. Okay. Yolanda, ask Samantha a question.
Are the elephant man and the beautiful woman going to fall in love? I don't understand. Sorry. I understand the answer, the question, but I don't understand in the story, in the
Because you...
I think what?
you choose
My imagination. No.
Because are they going to fall in love with you? Si innamoreranno in futuro?
I think that the elephant man would like fall in love with a beautiful woman, but I think that the beautiful woman would not the same. The same.
Okay, good. Sam asked Yolanda a question.
What is Merrick's mood at that time?
The elephant man is very happy, and he said that every hour of day he feel the happy man.
Okay. He felt. You feel, felt. Okay, good, good. Pepe asked Rossella a question.
When did the creature cry?
Merrick cried when the first time he received a visit by a young lady, a Dr. Tribb's friend.
Good. Ask Pepe a question.
Where did people read about Merrick and did they laugh at him?
People read about Merrick on newspaper.
Second part of the question.
Did they laugh at him?
No, they didn't laugh at him.
Okay, very good, good, good. Okay. Nobody saw me because you are the stars of the lesson, okay? So the camera is on you and not on me. Okay, so good, okay? Remember, to ask questions is important. So we need Mariano, okay? And so the first time the questions work, okay? The second time the questions work good, okay? Okay, so for homework, if you can, send in the summary of this part of the chapter. Try to use as many new words as possible, because the more we use words, the better. Unfortunately, next week, I am not here, because I am going away, and I will return on Friday. So, Monday, of course, is Easter Monday, so it's Pasquetta, and it's a holiday for everybody, okay?
Angel's Day.
Yeah, Angel's Day.
Monday.
Angel's Monday.
On Wednesday, I'm not here, because I will be in Germany, okay?
See you.
So, see you on next Monday. On
15 days.
no, it's